His name is Jason Jones. Jason, appreciate you joining us as always, my friend, here on Sactown Sports 1140. Just your thoughts on what the Kings did last night.
Yeah, I don't think it was a bad pick to go with Keegan Murray. It just all depends on who you believe in terms of who has the most upside, who's going to be the best player. I'm a big believer, especially in the top 5. You go for the best player regardless of the position and figure it out later. That's just me. Yep. I figure you're in the lottery. You're not one piece away. So drafting for need is kind of silly when you probably need 4 or 5 different players. So you just get the best guy, and if he happens to play the same position as another guy, you have good old-fashioned competition.
Listen, Jason.
Yeah.
I agree with you, my man. I mean, I've been talking about this for weeks, and, I was a draft Jaden Ivey guy last night. It doesn't mean that I don't like Keegan Murray. Doesn't mean that I think he's going to be a bust, but I agree with you. When you're picking in the top 5, you take the big swing. With that said, Jason, though, if you looked at Keegan, what do you like most about that pick?
That he's just an all-around solid player. He's got some length to him. From everything you read about him and you watch about him, he seems to understand the game. And one of the knocks been on the Kings is just that they have tended to kind of go with, as some scouts have told me, low IQ type players. This basketball IQ just not where it needs to be.
Right.
So you like that. You like that he can shoot from the perimeter. You like that he improves so much. I mean, it tells you he's a worker. And you need workers. You need guys like that. And I like the fact that he'll probably give them an option to, if you want to say start, a Keegan Murray, Sabonis, Harrison Barnes front court. That's you can start a game small now with some legit size. So I mean, to me, there are definitely some things to like about the pick. And I think what probably would cause the most angst, besides passing on Ivy, then you go to the second round and you get especially that number 37 pick, where there were so many guys.
Yep.
To me that was that's just saying we don't want to spend a lot of money right now.
Yep.
We don't want to commit to more money. And to me, that's probably the more disappointing part, because why not take a flyer on the guy who led the G League Ignite and scored? Why not? What does it hurt? That's what I would have done, but, it's not me. It's not my money. And I think the other part of the angst is that the Kings, through whatever, it wasn't a secret in the NBA. The Kings were trying to trade that pick. And they had almost told some people, the word was they were going to move that pick. So I think that kind of built the excitement of fans that, something big is going to happen with that pick.
Right.
They're going to, and then it's like, okay, the pick is Keegan Murray, and it's no knock on Keegan, but when you're thinking you're going to take a big swing with that in a deal, and then no deal happens. Even though some of the reported deals I didn't necessarily like, I don't know if a swap of John Collins and Harrison Barnes makes you that much better, But I just think that there was a lot of anticipation that finally they're going to take one of these high picks and flip it into something, and then that didn't happen. And then those second round picks, you get you 2 future seconds, and then you get cash and a guy who probably will never play in the NBA.
Yeah, let's look at what's moving forward here, Jason. Jason Jones with us here on the Athletic, Kettles and Ramie, Sactown Sports 1140. So they kept Barnes last night. They keep all their future picks, and they added a couple of second round picks. They add some salary there, whatever they do. What would you like to see them do moving forward with those assets, or would you like to see them keep Barnes?
I think, it all depends on what you're trying to do. If you're trying to win, you have to keep him, because if you don't keep him, what do? Say you move him and you don't get a wing player back. Now you're going to ask Keegan Murray to be your primary wing player, and then you still don't have that depth in the wing. I think what you try to do is you try to figure out that shooting guard position. You try to figure out, what do you do? Do you re-sign DiVincenzo? Do you sign and trade him? Do you try to make a move, make some other kind of move? You got to get that figured out. In that same vein, you've got to get some size at that position. They've been too small in the backcourt too long.
Yep.
I mean, the one thing I liked about Ivy, even though he's only 6'4", he might have been their biggest guard.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, with Davion and Fox, you are smaller in the backcourt. Let me ask you this, Jason. Speaking of size, there have been a couple of bigs that have been linked to the Kings recently. You mentioned John Collins. The other guy was DeAndre Ayton. We actually spoke with Zach Harper last night, and Zach said he thought the Kings had a better shot of getting into serious talks about acquiring DeAndre Ayton than they did Collins. If you had your pick out of those two guys, would it be Collins or would it be DeAndre Ayton?
Oh, it depends on if you're keeping Sabonis.
Let's say you're keeping Sabonis.
I'd probably go with Collins just because I think he's a guy who can play away from the basket. And do you really want a situation where Sabonis is your guy playing away from the basket? I mean, Sabonis has experience playing with a big like a Miles Turner, but I mean, there's pros and cons to both of them.
Yep.
I think if you're going to keep Sabonis at the 5, Collins makes more sense. Sabonis can play the 4, but this league is going so much smaller. It takes a rare skill set, like an Al Horford type 5, 4 or 5 to play two bigs together. And so, I mean, it would be doable, I think. But I don't know if you want to invest in Sabonis to keep him 20 feet from the basket all the time. I think one of his best skills is the fact that he's a pick-and-roll guy and he can operate out the mid and the high post.
I agree with you. Jason Jones with us here from The Athletic. All right, let's get to some other stuff aside from the Kings. Were you surprised that Paolo Banchero went number 1?
I was. I mean, a lot of people I talked to thought that Jabari was the best player. But, I mean, those, Jabari and Paolo, depending on who you talk to, those guys were, two guys that, either one could have gone number 1. It just seemed like everyone assumed that OKC was taking Chet no matter what. So it was kind of like either one of them was going to go first or third.
Yep.
So I mean, it wasn't a complete surprise. I mean, everything I heard about Paolo for years was that he was a number 1 pick type player. So it wasn't a complete shock. And I think, you're looking at some of the social media stuff and, the looks of the people in Orlando. Orlando did a great job of juking everyone for over a month.
No doubt about that. Everybody thought Jabari was heading there. All right.
For a month we were all stuck on Jabari in Orlando.
One last one for you, Jason. Again, thanks for the time. I've got to ask you, I'd be remiss if I didn't. What do you think happens in Brooklyn? Is this all just a leverage play and eventually KD and Kyrie stay there, or do you think this could be a massive shakeup?
I think my gut tells me Kyrie stays just because I don't think they want to go through the headache of we trade Kyrie and what does KD want now, and now your franchise player becomes Ben Simmons if you got to move KD. and the other part of that, too, is that in terms of a sign and trade, the places that Kyrie wants to go, his options are limited. It's going to be hard to get him to the Lakers unless you take back Russell Westbrook. I mean, it's going to be hard. The Clippers might have the best path, but even then, Kyrie hasn't shown to be the most reliable player the last couple of years. Do you really want to mess up what you got to bring him in?
I wouldn't. I would stay far away, far. I know he's very talented, but I would not want any of the Kyrie business. His name is Jason Jones from The Athletic. Jason, thank you. I appreciate your time. We'll do it again soon. Enjoy your weekend.
Same to you. Anytime.
Thank you. There goes Jason.